In reality, there's no difference between this as a beginner snake.
Well, this is a beginner snake.
On TikTok, constantly people ask us, especially when we're live, what's the best pet for snake for a beginner? There isn't one. So when we say that there's no beginner pet reptile, we mean it. But also, every reptile is a beginner reptile. If you're prepared to do your research and you want to find the perfect snake for you, you want a snake that literally keeps you awake at night because you cannot stop thinking about them because you're so excited. So whether it's a false water cobra,
Or a ball python.
it doesn't matter. It's just exciting. You need to find the right snake for you, and from there, anything goes. So, for example, you were looking at rhino rat snakes.
I was, yes. And then you convinced me to have a look at a false water cobra, who ended up being called Big Suze. And it was because I'd told you how cool I thought cobras were. And if I wasn't so risk averse, I'd probably have a house full of hots. And you went, well, what about a snake that looks like a cobra, but without quite as much risk? That led me down a very deep rabbit hole and led me to the snake that changed my life.
But I think it's true. I don't think, and I stand by this, I say it in pretty much every live that I ever do, that any snake could be your beginner snake. There is no such thing. Someone asked me about a monocled cobra. I mean, I think you're insane. I think you'd be an idiot, and I think you'd be a little bit stupid. However, if that's what you dreamt of, what's the point in a stepping stone? What's the point in a snake that someone tells you, get a ball python, then other people tell you, but sometimes they're picky with eating. Then someone recommends a corn snake, but you've never wanted one. That snake's going to end up in a rehome, in a rescue. It's going to end up on a site like Preloved, Craigslist, Pets for Homes, where you're going to sell it because you never actually wanted it. You got it because someone told you it's a good idea. I think the best idea is to research, find, can I fit that tank into my house?
Yes.
Can I give them everything they need?
I think that's the most important thing when we're talking about what snake is the best beginner snake. There's so much more to think about than just, do I really, really, really like this snake? Can I provide this snake everything it needs for the rest of its life? And snakes live for a hot minute.
Oh, it's not a short-term commitment. This ain't no hamster. This is not a 2 or 3 year commitment. This is 20, 25 plus years, which for me is phenomenal. That's the best bit.
Yeah.
You can have a long-term bond and you don't have the regular sadness of, say, if you were keeping pet mice, pet rats, pet hamsters. So for me, this is a fantastic long-term hobby. I just want you to know what you want. And for me, that's a snake that we're about to film after this one, a video on Madagascan giant hognose snakes. And for me, they have been a very, very, very long-held dream. Madagascan giant hognoses, they were the snake that had me setting Google alerts, had me checking every single day on every single website I could find. And that's what I want for you, to find a snake that makes you think, I have to have that snake. That is the snake I've dreamt of. Not a ball python or a corn snake because someone told you it was in the top 5 beginner pet reptiles, because so what if it is? If it doesn't work for you, there's no point. If you are going to go down the ball python route, one thing I would encourage fully is to check on rehome websites. Give a normal a home, a wild type, one that no one wants because the next must-have fashionable morph has come along and they're stuck in a rack, in a breeder's bedroom. Look around, shop around.
I think definitely adopt, don't shop when it comes to
some
ball
snakes you have no
pythons.
choice, but with a ball python, 100%.
Yeah, there is no reason not to. And I think people who are selling all these magical morphs for hundreds of £1,000s are a real detriment to the hobby as a whole. And I think they ruin it.
And they only end up getting sold to other breeders who want to create the next must-have morph.
Yes, so it's like its own little pyramid scheme a little bit.
It's just horrible. You've got hair in your mouth. How did this even happen? And you've literally put my other hand in prison so I can't get the hair out. You are a clever girl. But if you have always wanted a colubrid, a big colubrid snake, you've always had your eye on a crebo, there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you making that your first snake, apart from you and your research. You need to look into it. And things like tank requirements and temperature and their high food drive. So are you going to be able to handle that? So I understand and fully agree with people who say there are snakes who you are able or better keeping because they are easier for beginners. And I get that. I totally understand it. That isn't the point of this video. Some of those simpler to look after, easier snakes are perfect. And they may be what you've dreamt of. You may be looking for a snake that's family friendly. And that makes total sense. But what I don't want you to do is fall into the trap of being advised by somebody else that this is the best pet snake. And it's not going to work out for you. That's a worry I have. We've never met, but I still care about you. So make sure you're doing the right thing for you. What are some simple to look after, if someone's looking for a family-friendly beginner? I don't like the term. I think the whole video makes that clear. But what are we looking at?
No, I think, you know, my joke answer would be just get a falsie.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that is a joke.
But
I think they're amazing.
my serious answer, coming from a personal perspective anyway, would be if you have a trusted community of like-minded snake people, and they are telling you, you know, trust your gut, go with what you've fallen in love with, and we will help you with that. That's a real big help. I think if I hadn't have had you, I wouldn't have gone anywhere near false water cobras, because they were sold as an intermediate species. And whilst I'm not denying that they certainly are quite a bit of work, and especially when they get bigger and stronger as well. They start off really strong and they just get stronger. So I do understand why people call them intermediate species.
As I sit here tickling her chin.
This is the thing. If you're willing to put the time, the effort, the work into a snake, they will reward you in spades. I personally think Big Sue's is the easiest snake to work with that I've got, and I've got hognoses and ball pythons aside from that, which you'd think typically they're the beginner snakes, they're the easier snakes. Western hognoses have kind of started taking the place of ball pythons as that go-to 1 million morphs a minute species.
I really hope it doesn't happen to hognoses to the same extent as it did with ball pythons.
I'm right there with you on that one. It would be such a shame. But this is the thing, out of the 4 snakes that I've got, the 2 hognoses, the ball python, the false water cobra. The false water cobra is the one that never gives me any trouble at feeding time. The false water cobra is the easiest one to read. You can almost see the cogs turning in her head. So I know exactly what she's going to do, when she's going to do it, right down to using the toilet. That's how easy they are.
Proved this in our false water cobra video.
I've got 2 recordings of that now, by the way.
I'm not putting
no,
it
we
in
won't,
this video again.
Grim.
There was a very clear dip. As soon as that, it was like most people stopped watching.
People don't want
point.
poo,
No.
which is fair. But this is the thing, like I'd take 1 million Susas if I had the space, because they are so much fun to work with. I have fallen head over heels in love with them. It's not to say I don't love my other snakes. I absolutely do. But Big Suze is the one that, if I'm having a really bad day, she'll be coming out for a cuddle, providing she's allowed to come out for a cuddle.
I'm going to give you a couple of snakes that I think are not part of the typical recommended. I agree about false water cobras, but I think them to it. So I'm not arguing with a single thing you've said, because you are our false water cobra expert.
I don't think they're for everyone, though.
They're not for everyone. So yeah, we're in agreement then, completely. That doesn't make good content. We should have argued. I should have said they're not the best.
Okay, right. In an ideal world, they are the snake for everyone, and everyone on the planet should have a snake.
No, that's not true. They're not for everyone.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay,
see,
I can
content.
see.
I can clip that bit now.
Doing me dirty on the edit there.
You've done that to me on Instagram. Okay, what with Frobisher wild in my hands, and then all of a sudden he comes to you and he's tame. Don't pretend you've never done me on Instagram.
That wasn't the edit, that was one continuous shot.
Yeah. I think African house snakes are a really good call. I think they are small, they are manageable, they are easy to handle, easy to look after, and I think they make fantastic pet snakes. I think Pygmy pythons or anything from Antaresia family makes an absolutely sensational pet snake. So children's spotted Pygmy, they are sensational and they are often overlooked. But if you want the intelligence and the sort of personality of a retake, I can't recommend the Pygmy enough. I think they are amazing. And I also have nothing against ball pythons. People have heard me rant about them, but if you look back, it's always about the breeder. It's always about the rack systems.
Never about the snakes.
It's not about the snakes. My heart breaks when I think about ball pythons, because so many of them are unwanted, and it's not good, and it really does get to me as someone who absolutely loves these animals. But if you're looking for the perfect beginner pet snake, I think that ultimately comes down to you and what you want.
And what you can provide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Realistically as well, I think it's very, very easy to kind of get your hopes up and your imagination run away with you a little bit. And I think sometimes fantasy and reality don't quite align. So make sure you are as prepared as you could possibly be to look after that snake for the rest of your life.
And you can't go wrong, really, if that's what you do. So follow our rules, because they're pretty good. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Follow my rules and buy yourself a falsy. Steve.
Bye.
Hello. If you want to see more of these snakes and the rest of the snakes in the reptile room, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and I'll see you soon.